This is a lecture from Open Tuition. To benefit from the lecture, you should download the free lecture notes from opentuition.com.
So this is a very common example C question, and you'll notice if when you look at your manual that the question is actually over 2 pages. And it's very common to get them to look like this. We're going to practice this one, and then if you look in your BPP manual, you'll find some more examples for you to work through, and in your revision kit you'll find a lot of them. Now, as I said before, this is for sole traders and partnerships and limited companies with a few tweaks. All right, so it is something that is going to come up on a regular basis in an exam. So let's have a look at it in more detail. So 1st of April 2023, Jeremy commenced self-employment running a retail shop. His statement of profit and loss for the year ended 31st of March 2024 is as follows. So we have gross profit there, and we have some expenses. So depreciation is a provision and will need to be added back. Just to bear in mind, this is a set of accounts here with your gross profit, the bottom half of a set of accounts. Gross profit less expenses gives you the net profit. Depreciation is rarely part of the notes which form the rest of this question. So always make sure that you look for depreciation and don't just deal with the notes and miss it out. Okay, just to make sure that you've gone back. And obviously as you go through a question, it's important to tick it off. What I would do when I was reading a question is to start with the net profit figure and then add in depreciation straight away, because I know I'm going to find it in the question, and then deal with the notes. That's just a bit of a safety net thing. So then we've got all these expenses that are in note 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So let's have a look at these notes. We have private accommodation. Jeremy and his wife live in a flat that's situated above the clothing shop. Of the expenses included in the statement of profit and loss for light, heat, rent and rates, 40% relates to the flat and will need to be added back. Note 2, motor expenses. During the year, Jeremy drove 12,000 miles, of which 9,000 were private. Okay, we will need to add back the private aspect. And we'll have to do some calculations with that. So that would be 9,000 divided by 12, which is the total, times the expense. Let's check the expense. Motor expense is 4,720. Any calculation that you do like that, please show it as a working. You can either do all your workings first and then do your answer, or do your answer and put all the workings underneath. But you must show the workings somewhere, because the marker is looking for 9,000 over 12,000 times 4,720. There are 2 calculations there. 9 divided by 12. You could put the wrong figure in. That answer then is multiplied by 4,720. So there's a potential in 2 places there for you to press the wrong button. The answer may be wrong, but the process is correct. Therefore, you will get a mark for the process, even though your answer's wrong. I know that doesn't sound logical, but it's a fact. Okay, we have professional fees here that we need to deal with. Accountancy. That's more than acceptable. Legal fees in connection with the purchase of the clothing shop. That's probably acceptable. It's the fees. Debt collection. Fine, not a problem with that. However, in accountancy, we've got £250 for a capital gains tax computation for the individual. That will need to be added back. It's private use. Repairs and renewals. There's the figure, 5,660, includes 2,200 for decorating the shop. That's okay. 1,050 for decorating the flat. Okay, we are going to have to be able to add that back. Sundries. The figure of 2,990 for sundries includes gifts to customers of food, alarm bells, gifts to customers of pens carrying an advert. So that's got to be dealt with, but that doesn't have to be because it's got an advert on it. Donation to a national charity, not allowed, add it back. And £40 donation to a local fete, which had a free advert in it. Now you see how, as I explained when we were going through that list, that they're going to give you two. If they give you two, one of them needs to be added back. They won't give you two and both added back. That's rare. They won't give you two and neither of them added back. Very rare. Okay? If they're giving you two, one will be added back, one will be allowable. You have to learn the rules. Okay. So, carrying on the question, wages and salaries. We've got £84,825 for wages and salaries. £15,500 is paid to Jeremy's wife. She works in the shop as a sales assistant. All the others earn only 11. Okay, there's a difference there. She's earning a lot more. The difference will need to be added back. Goods for own use. During the year, Jeremy took out clothes for his personal use without paying or accounting for them. Okay, the cost of these clothes was $460, selling price of $650. You are going to have to determine which one of these you need to add back. Plant and machinery. Somebody's worked out the capital allowances for us. It's £13,060. We are to work out the tax adjusted trade profits for the year ended 31st of March 2024. So let's do the computation, the answer. As with all our computations, the first thing we need to do is give it a title. So that's what we're doing. We are adjusting the trade profits. Then always put for the year ended. And this is the 31st of March 24. And we're going to use the pro forma. So the pro forma is net profit per accounts. And those net profit per accounts was £30,200 per the question. And then we are going to add back all the various aspects that we have just talked about. First one, before we get to the notes, depreciation, 4,760. Now, one of the things we had to deal with was normally what we do is you deal with them right from the start. Note 1, note 2, note 3, note 4. Deal with them like that. Tick them off as you're doing. So, light and heat. If you remember rightly, 40% of that needs to be added back because he lives in the flat above. Motor expenses. Do you remember the calculation? It was 9,000 divided by 12,000 times 4,720. And that works out to be 3,540. The accountancy, we needed for the capital gains tax, needs to be added back. Purchase of the new shop. There's £1,200 there to do with the fees. Rent and rates. Again, 40% of this because he lives in the flat upstairs. And what we're doing is we're going through and listing each one. Tick them off, show each one. So we decorated the flat. And we had some food hampers, didn't we? The gifts. And then we had a donations. This was to a national charity because that's not allowed and needs to be added back. Listing all of these various different things. Excessive salary. Do you remember that? She was earning 15,500 and the other assistant was only earning 11,000. So the £4,500, because basically he's siphoning off his profits and giving it to his wife. And then the own consumption, the goods, is 650 because he made no accounting for that. Now when you add that up, it comes to 18,860, which we need to add back to the 30,000. And then finally we deduct the capital allowances instead of our depreciation, which somebody has worked out for us. In the exam you'll probably have to do that yourself. That was £13,060, giving us a tax adjusted trade profits, well labelled, well presented. So it's important to read the question carefully. Deal with all the items that are in there. Sometimes you're going to get marks for putting zeros in where things are not adjusted. Read the question carefully. You get half marks for all sorts of things. There's probably 10 or 12 marks in something like this. So it's important that you get it right.